I'm Susannah Berg, and I'm playing the Childcatcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Obviously, it's a very iconic role. Many people will remember it from the film, or played by a man. It's sort of quite a different take, being played by a woman in this, and it's an actor-musician production of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So we're, all the music is being created live on stage. It's a very exciting process. It's a chitty that's never been done this way before, shall we say?
And for me, obviously, my first encounter as well, got the t-shirt on because I saw it at the London Palladium whenever, like 20 plus years ago. What was your kind
Yeah.
of first encounter with this story?
Yeah, I never saw it at the Palladium. I was sort of aware of it, but it was just one of those shows that passed me by that I never got to see. But I remember seeing the film as a child. I'm a massive fan of Dick Van Dyke. I absolutely love him. I'm half Dutch, so he really reminds me of my dad. And so I always loved watching Dick Van Dyke as a kid. So I remember watching Chitty and just particularly Old Bamboo, really remembering all of that. And remembering, the scary Childcatcher and the silly villains, and I've never seen the stage version of the musical.
And obviously, it's such a vast world, this show, and the Watermill was kind of known for the last few years for doing these massive productions in such a venue. How have you kind of, without giving too much away, how are you
Yeah.
approaching the scale of the production?
Well, I think ultimately it's a show about a family, a close family unit, and they're dealing with the mother has died. They're dealing with it's a single parent family, and so I think we're focusing on the sort of core values of the story. Rather than massive. I mean, there will be massive set pieces. What is great about the Watermill is that they do a sort of inside out thing now, so that we have chance to take some of the story outside, which of course gives us a bit more space to do some certain set pieces, which is brilliant. But at its heart, it's a story about, two kids who have lost their mother, and they've got this crazy zany father, and, they go on great adventures and they meet another mother figure. And I think all of that can get lost in a massive production, whereas, we're really concentrating on the real heart of that story.
And obviously, I know you touched on kind of the film being so iconic and the character being so iconic. How do you approach putting your own stamp on something that is so visually iconic?
Well, I think luckily with I'm not going to go into too many details, but with Katie Lias, the designer, she's designed me a costume that's very, very different, a take that's very, very different. So I've got, without again going into too much detail, I've got a clarinet that I use, a sort of Pied Piper type vibe going on. So that sense is different. And being a woman is different, in terms of the sort of connotations of that. I think it's, in this day and age, it's probably better having a woman catching kids than a man catching kids.
And is there a pressure then to live up to that kind of legacy that is so iconic in the world of the show?
I mean, a little bit. But as I say, I did some great green screen work as well the other day. So there's going to be projections and stuff that help me out. But yeah, I suppose you go back to the text and you go back to what people say about you, and then just sort of decide from there. So I very consciously not watched the film for a little while, as soon as I got cast in this last November. So I haven't gone back to the film at all, because I just thought, well, no, I need to sort of just see what's there on the page and take it from there.
I know you just touched on the kind of physicality of the role and the look, but how do you find the voice for it? Because is it a specific kind of voice you've gone for, or?
Not specifically. We're all sort of using a Bulgarian accent, so that does help. And yeah, like, I mean, I feel like I'm still at the point in rehearsals where I'm still discovering as well. So I've made a few choices, but I haven't massively set them in stone. And there's lots of the children that we haven't actually worked with yet. There's the children that are playing the Bulgarians. So I think I'll sort of, work out what they give me as well as to what choices I decide to make.
And how do you kind of maintain that? I know you say you're not quite there yet, but how do you maintain the line of kind of keeping it as a villain rather than something that's like more pantomime-y?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, I think I'm really helped out by the build up to the Childcatcher is, people, the way people talk about me, it's set up. And I think the Childcatcher is the one villain that isn't like a lot of the other, like Boris and Goran, the spies, and the Baron and Baroness are sort of silly. They have a lot of comedy, whereas the Childcatcher is set up as this sort of quite ethereal. It's almost like a concept rather than an actual person. So I think I'm just helped by that and helped by the music actually massively.
And then what do you think the child catcher's greatest weapon is? Is it kind of the candy? Is it the mind? Is it the cart? What's it?
Yeah, I think it's knowing, being quite clever and manipulating and just knowing what children like, I think, and then using that against them.
Yeah, and obviously, like you say, you're not quite there yet with the show, but how do you think this space, like the intimacy of the audience, will help with this character?
Yeah, I mean, really good. I mean, I think that hopefully there'll be some children that are absolutely terrified. And of course, at the Watermill, we use everywhere. We use coming through the audience and things like that. So I think, the immediacy of that might be quite terrifying. Hopefully.
I'm sure it will be. And as it is a Watermill production, as you say, it's actor musician work. How have you kind of approached bringing such an iconic score to life?
Well, Stuart Morley, who's done all the orchestrations, it's actually quite small because we've got so many different elements in this dance, puppetry, all sorts, that there's probably only about 10 of us who actually play. So he's gone for sort of a very English sound and taken it from an English, that sort of brass band, English country folk music. So the score will sound really different, I think, from those sort of, it won't be sort of big and lush. It will sound like a sort of a fairground or a English brass band or sort of Morris dancing sort of community feel. There's a lot of brass in it. I play the accordion, then clarinet. Often there's no piano in it. We've got one violin player and there's guitars, and so I think it will have a real rustic feel actually, which I think will fit really nicely at the Watermill.
And it must be great to kind of, as we say, kind of create a new version of this show, really.
Mm. Yeah, oh, absolutely. It feels like it's something really, really different.
And then you've been to the Watermill a couple of times in your past. What kind of draws you back to this venue in particular?
I have. It's just the last time I was here was 11 years ago, which feels ages ago. And every time I come here, I just it's such a lovely. It's a lovely place to spend the summer because you're in the middle of middle of the countryside, and if the weather's kind to us, it's just an absolutely blissful place. But you really feel like you're entering into a family run building, and everyone sort of works together, and it feels it's just a really lovely place. It's also really, really challenging learning a full score. And often other musicals that I do aren't so challenging in terms of the concentration levels and the the actual physical learning of all that music. So I like a busy show, and it's going to be a busy show for
Yeah.
me.
How do you physically and mentally kind of prepare for a run like this when you're at this stage?
Well, we've just had a lovely physio come in and help us out. Yeah, we just yeah, I sort of try and look after myself as much as
Yeah.
possible, and which is sort of quite easy to do here because we're in the country and we're getting plenty of daylight, and yeah, not go to the bar too much.
Yeah.
We've just been told it's shut until the show opens, which is
Oh,
really annoying.
that's disappointing. Yeah, that's disappointing.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is the perfect place. We'll be doing yoga. It feels like a bit of a summer retreat. So yeah, it's there's a lot of shows this summer because it's I think it's probably the longest run the Watermill has done. I think we're doing about 125 shows, which is a lot. But yeah, the Watermill are kind. They give us time, space, and time, and they look after us. So that's all you can want, really.
And anyone who hasn't been, it's just such a great space. Just like you say, the surroundings of it alone are
Yeah,
just such a beautiful
yeah,
place to be.
yeah. It's just It's so every time I drive and I drive over the bridge, I just think, oh, lovely. Here I
Yeah.
am.
Yes. And if you could turn the tables and interview the Childcatcher, what would you like to ask them?
Oh, oh, what made you so? Excuse me, I've got a cough. What made you so evil? Yeah. We've sort of discussed that the Baroness is very much in charge of what the Childcatcher does, and it's sort of we're working in a sort of slightly despotic state, and I suppose the Childcatcher is just functioning within that. But yeah, what made you so evil?
Yeah. And then just some general questions about kind of your kind of background, really. What was the kind
Yeah.
of first show that you saw that made you think this is for me?
Oh. Oh, gosh, I'm not 100% sure. Um, I think it was probably. I grew up in Worcestershire, and there's a theatre there called the Swan, which I'm not sure is even there anymore because I know it went through a few sort of financial difficulties. But they used to put on the most incredible Christmas shows, and I remember one which was Dick Whittington. And I remember, the Pied Pipe, and there was like a Pied Piper thing, and with the rats. That's what I remember. And I thought, yeah.
And then how do you kind of reflect on the journey of your career so far? You've done some amazing shows that I've seen, like As You Like It, Fiddler on the Roof, just to name
Yeah,
two.
I just go where people want me, really, to be honest. To be honest, they just, I suppose, I don't really have a career. I think some actors are very conscious about what they want to, partly, I do things financially, if someone
Yep.
offers me a job, I take it. I've got to pay the mortgage, but also, I like to work with certain directors, and that's definitely part of my, the forefront of my mind. I like to work with people that will challenge me, and that it will be an interesting creative process. I think I'm really lucky in my career. Most of the time I've managed to sort of create the role rather than sort of stepping into a long established show that's been running for years and years and years. And I think that's I'm sort of really happy about that because I really enjoy the creative process.
Yes. And then if you're stranded on a desert island, you can take 3 musical theatre soundtracks with you. Which soundtracks would
Oh,
you take?
Sweeney Todd, definitely. Carousel.
Oh,
Musically, the book, you know, has its issues.
Yeah.
Musically, Carousel is just wonderful. And what else? What else would I take? Oh, probably West Side Story. Just because, again, musically, it's just,
Yeah.
I could never, and I could have a little salsa on the beach.
Yeah. It's great choices. And then what motivates you to keep telling stories like Chitty as an actor?
Um, I'm no good at anything else, really. Um, and yeah, I do enjoy. I suppose I've done a lot of musicals that have been reinvented. Even the last production of Fiddler on the Roof that I did at the Barbican. I suppose in some ways that was a slight reinvention in terms of, making the story feel more immediate and more modern. And I suppose I do really enjoy tackling, shows that have been around for a while and, putting a fresh stamp on them and reinventing them slightly for a more modern audience.
And to wrap up our lovely conversation, simply what would you hope an audience member takes away from seeing this production?
Oh, just absolute joy. I think there's some sequences already that are giving me goosebumps. And I just think a wonderful, entertaining, but also, that family and love and caring about each other is, and, being able to create things together are, at the heart of, and the whole, we're sort of focusing on the inventor and the kids being inventors and stuff like that. And just, you don't need iPads to have a great time and to be creative. And I really hope that kids see what's happening on stage and then go home and create their own versions of Chitty and various other things that are in the show.
Well, Susannah, thank you so much. Just leaves me to say the production Chitty Chitty Bang Bang runs at the Watermill from 26th of May till the 13th of September.